Are you a runner, at least to some degree? And maybe you're training for a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, a full marathon, or maybe you're just trying to improve your endurance overall. And when you run, do you feel like you're constantly running yourself into the ground? In this episode, I'm going to break down the 80-20 rule as it applies to running, the smarter way to train that helps you run faster and longer without burning out. I'm going to explain what zone 2 training is, why running harder isn't always better, and how you can apply this method to maximize your performance. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to train more efficiently, make real progress, and not get injured in pursuit of your running goals. Before we dive in, if you're listening on the Apple Podcast app or on Spotify, make sure you hit the follow button. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. All right, you guys, I am currently 8 weeks down at the time of the release of this episode, 8 weeks down into my marathon training and 8 weeks to go. My marathon is April 26th here in Nashville, Tennessee, and marathon training has been going well, and in huge part to my running coach. Huge shout out to Katie. I'm going to post her Instagram handle in the description in the show notes as well if you want to follow her. She has been an awesome running coach from a programming perspective, from a support perspective, and from a communication perspective. She's just been absolutely awesome. I've learned a lot from her, which is a lot of what I want to share today. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to do a marathon. I would say the biggest reason was because it was something that scared me and intimidated me. And I wanted to continue to show myself that I am the type of person who will do things that intimidates them. And that's what I want for you guys as well. Like, I want you to be the type of person who's willing to step out into their discomfort zone, or what I like to say, flirt with chaos. If you're watching on video, I'm showing my shirt right now, my brand new shirt, Flirting with Chaos. Super pumped about it. But anyways, we're going to discuss a lot about running today and some of the principles that I've been following with my marathon training that have allowed me to continually improve my performance, still feel really good, and not get injured in the process, because those are kind of the three of the biggest things that I wanted to ensure happened during this marathon training. And a lot of what I'm sharing with you today has been education that I've gotten from my running coach. So I want to make sure I give her due credit. So the first thing that I want to dive into, actually, before I dive into that, I really want you to join me for the next Fat Loss Forever workshop on March 24th. We just did one a couple days ago. If you missed out on that, don't worry, we're doing it again. This workshop will help you end diet confusion. Because look, I know a lot of you guys listening and watching, you're pretty consistent with your fitness. You're pretty consistent with your workouts, but maybe you're still not quite seeing the results with how you feel or your body composition that you want to see. And for most of you, it's nutrition. For most of you, you're pretty good with nutrition most of the week, but then just like every once in a while, you'll hit a snag in the road and that'll put you back. And maybe you have a couple weeks that are really good and then a few days that are really bad, and then that sets you back. During this workshop, I want to completely empower you so that you know exactly what you need to eat, how much of it, in order to fuel yourself to look the way you want to look and feel the way you want to feel. So go to nickcarrier.com/workshop and you can register for the free workshop today, March 24th at 5 p.m. Again, go from frustrated that your little bit of lack of consistency with your nutrition isn't getting to you where do you want to be, to feeling educated, empowered, and motivated and clear on how you can look and feel the way you want to look and feel. So go to nickcarrier.com/workshop to register for March 24th at 5 p.m. Central Time. And also, if you can't make that time, still register. I'll send you the recording. All right, here we go. One of the first principles that I've been following is the 80-20 rule as it applies to running. So 80% of running, and when I say 80%, I'm thinking about a percentage of my overall miles. So for sake of simplicity, if I ran 10 miles, about 8 of them, around 8 of them, give or take, should be easy miles. And easy can mean a lot of different things. One of the ways that my running coach has described easy is 2 to 3 minutes slower than what my 5K pace would be. One of the ways that I would describe easy is from a heart rate perspective, and we're going to get into that here in a second. But 80% of running should be easy, and about 20% should be hard workouts in order to optimally train your aerobic base. So this foundational aspect of running dictates your ability to complete a desired time over distance for an event while maintaining aerobic ATP production. Simply stated, it's the ability to go as far as you want for as fast as you want. And so one of the ways that I've heard it described is a triangle. If your cardiovascular capacity was to be constructed in a shape, it would be a triangle. The base of the triangle is your aerobic capacity, and the tip of the triangle is your anaerobic capacity. Aerobic means with oxygen. Anaerobic means without oxygen. And for your triangle, you want it to be as wide of a base as possible and as tall of a peak as possible. But like anything, you need to form the foundation first. You need to form your aerobic base first, which is spending time in the heart rate zone that's more like 65 to 77 to 80 to maybe 85% of your max heart rate. So I'll go ahead and tell you before I go into the next kind of point is this part has been really hard for me, and it will just continue to be hard for me because as an athlete growing up, I always thought harder, more effort. And if my heart wasn't beating out of my chest, then I wasn't doing everything that I possibly could. And a lot of us athletes were brought up to feel that way, and that was good. But now when it comes to running, a lot of people I see really training too hard when it comes to running, and that leads them to not building their aerobic base and setting themselves up for injury and inconsistency. And so I have been doing the best that I can right now at keeping 80% of my miles as easy and keeping my heart rate low and not being obsessed with pace or performance, and then 20% of my miles being hard. Now, the second part that I wanted to dive into a little bit deeper is what does easy running mean? Because easy is somewhat subjective, right? How do you know if you're running easy? Well, I would say there's a few different ways that you can think about it. First is a heart rate perspective. My coach shared with me that around 65 to 77% of your max heart rate would be an easy pace. I would kind of expand that to more like 65 to 80 to maybe 85% of your max heart rate as something that you can think about. So that's the first way you can think about it. The second way is thinking about a rating of perceived exertion. So like a 4 or a 5 out of 10 level of difficulty, if you will. It should be a pace that you feel like you can run all day at, and a pace that you feel like you could carry on a conversation. So there's a heart rate component that could dictate to you whether it's easy running. There's a feeling, a rate of perceived exertion or conversational pace that can dictate whether or not that is easy. And one of the things that I actually really like to do, and it's hard if it's really cold to do this, but it is to, during my easy miles, only breathe through my nose. So only be nasal breathing. And if I can maintain nasal breathing throughout the duration of the run, that helps me to ensure that I am running at an easy pace. So that means keeping my mouth shut, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Now, if it's really cold, you might have a lot of snot coming out, so you might need to breathe out your mouth. Just FY, maybe a little TMI there, but that is the case. So 80% easy, 20% hard, and that's how you dictate what easy running actually means. The next part that I want to dive into is really ensuring that you understand, if you're a runner, that easy can look and feel different on different days. Again, thinking about, let's say, going back into being able to speak in full sentences and carry on conversations easily when you're running. Certain days, that might be, I don't know what your pace is, but some days that might be an 8-minute pace. Some days that might be an 8:30 pace. Some days that might be a 9-minute pace. Now, there's not going to necessarily be a massive variability, but depending on how much sleep you got, depending on what you've eaten, depending on if you've drinking alcohol, depending on if you're hydrated, depending on the temperature outside, depending on how many miles you did the day before or a couple days before, or where you at in your week, or if you're sore from strength training, like all of those things will factor into what easy feels like. And one of the things that my running coach said to me is always go more based off of feel. I want it to feel easy. Don't go for a pace, go for a feeling. I want it to feel easy, and every day that might look a little bit different. The next thing I wanted to dive into is this kind of equation that she sent to me that really was important for me to grasp and implement, and that's stress plus rest equals growth. So you need to stress the body, you need to lift weights, you need to push yourself in running, you need to stress the system. But if you don't give your body a chance to rest and build back up stronger, then it's never going to build back up stronger. See, what a lot of people do, and I'm a visual person, so if you're watching the video, you can watch my hands here. What a lot of people do is they stress the body to a certain level, let's say like a certain peak, let's say. And when you stress the body, you're kind of breaking the body down. And let's think, okay, we're going into a valley, we're going into a trough, and we're recovering. Okay, so we're broken down. Now we need to recover back up to where we previously were our capability, but then we want to recover to the point where we're a little bit more capable now than we were previously. So let's say, for example, again, to try to make it easy to grasp, if I currently have a capability of 5 out of 10 with my running, and then I stress my body, and then I'm stressed and I'm broken down, I want to recover. I want to recover to the point where I'm now a 5.1 out of 10. So a little bit better than I was before. But if you're constantly just stressing, not resting enough, stressing again, not resting enough, stressing again, not resting enough, you're never giving your body a chance to recover past where you previously were. So you need to make sure that you apply stress, give yourself enough rest, and that will allow you to grow and allow you to be more capable than you were before. And doing easy runs will allow you the ability to do that. Now, before I move on, I want to remind you about the Fat Loss Forever Workshop. Again, this is if nutrition has been the thing that maybe you know something about, maybe you know a decent amount about, maybe you know very little about, like this education that you're going to get, you're going to walk away being like, wow, I can look at my dinner plate or my lunch plate so much different now because I know what I'm actually looking at, and I know what that should look like given how much I weigh, given my muscle mass, given my goals, everything like that, giving my food preferences, and that's all you're going to learn during this workshop. And it's Monday, March 24th at 5 p.m. Central Time. You can register for free by going to nickcarrier.com/workshop. Again, if you can't make that time, I'll send the recording out to you, but you still have to register. So go to nickcarrier.com/workshop to register today for the Fat Loss Forever Workshop on March 24th. Now, the next thing that I want to dive into, and this honestly was one of the biggest convincers to me to do easy miles. Again, I'm kind of like, let's just back up real quick. My goal for the marathon, April 26th, is to be able to average a 6:45 pace for every single mile. So I'm trying to run 26.2 miles at an average of a 6:45 pace for the entire thing. And so, okay, then what should my training look like? You would think, okay, I want to try to train at 6:45 pace as much as possible. That's what you would potentially think if you don't know anything about running. But no, my easy miles are oftentimes anywhere between 7:30 and 8:30. So anywhere between 45 seconds to a minute 45 slower than what my actual goal pace is. And it's hard for me to convince myself to do that slow of a pace relative to my goal pace because it's like, man, why am I running so much slower than what I actually want to be running at? And here are the reasons. There's a few different reasons. One is that easy running promotes increased capillary density. Now, we're not going to get super in depth with the science today, but capillaries help to deliver oxygen to working muscles. So our bodies will adapt according to the stress placed upon them. And easy running encourages our bodies to make more capillaries as an adaptation to the stress of simply running easy. So with an increase in capillary density, our body is going to have increased options for delivering blood to the muscles to assist when muscles get fatigued. So one of the biggest reasons for easy running is increased capillary density. The second huge reason is mitochondrial growth. Again, we're not going to get super into the science, but mitochondria are basically the powerhouse of the cell. And doing low intensity or easy training helps to foster mitochondrial growth. And this adaptation equips the body to burn fat efficiently, a process that is absolutely essential in long distance endurance events, because in long distance endurance events, you go after your glucose first and then some glycogen. And if you refuel throughout the race, then you'll continue to use the glucose that you are refueling with, but you're going to have to dive into some fat storage during some long races. And so your mitochondria need to be working efficiently to power you through the race. Then a third reason of, I think, a total of 4 to convince me to run slow is because of recovery. Running easily helps facilitate blood flow to muscles that are in need of repair following a quality session or strength training workout. So when executed properly, an easy run can actually help to speed up the recovery process. That's why so many people who are sore, but going on a walk helps them actually reduce soreness, is because you're promoting blood flow to those muscles. So what you don't want to do is work too hard, because then you're putting more stress on the body and that hinders the healing process. So in the end, a lack of optimal recovery is going to lead to overtraining, burnout, and or injury. So the fourth reason that really convinced me to stick to and adhere to the easy miles is sustainability. Because look, mentally, it would be super challenging super challenging to go out and push yourself super hard day in and day out. Like going out on an easy run is much less intimidating. And look, you can like manipulate your running calendar based on the stress of your weeks, the stress of your days, the stress of you have at work. Like I know for me personally, currently I am running 4 times a week. 2 runs of those weeks are easy runs. 2 of them are quality sessions. My quality sessions are a mix of easy miles and some harder miles. And and the 2 quality sessions are usually a lot harder to execute and a lot harder on my body. And if all 4 of them were quality sessions and all 4 of them were really hard, I would dread them and I probably wouldn't be as consistent with hitting all of them. But because like 2 of the days are pretty darn easy and low intensity, then it provides me a lot more like, okay, I can go do this. This isn't that big a deal. I can go do this. And so sustainability is another huge reason why you should add in plenty, 80% of your miles as easy miles. Again, I'm halfway into training. I'm feeling pretty good. My goal of 6:45 wasn't super scientific. I first thought that averaging a less than 7-minute mile would be good, but then I thought 6:45 sounded a lot cooler. And I'm not going to say 6:52 or 6:47. I wanted it to round down to the nearest 15, if you will. And then I also saw that the Boston qualifying time was around averaging a 6:45. I think it's a little bit slower than a 6:45. And that was like, oh, that would be really cool. It's not that I really necessarily care to qualify for Boston. It would just be cool to say that I did. And who knows? Maybe I run it someday. Maybe I don't. Who knows? I'm not necessarily loving the process of marathon training. I wouldn't really say that, but I'm definitely learning a lot about running and I'm getting mentally tougher and I'll have a whole new set of knowledge, skills, and experience that I didn't previously have. And to me, honestly, this process wasn't just about fun. I think people make that mistake. Some of the process of your goals should be fun and some of it is fun for me, but if you're just going for fun, then you're not going to get as much out of it as you probably could. So for me, this was all about growth. I know it'll provide me with a lot more meaning because it is about growth. So before we wrap up today, remember, sign up for the Fat Loss Forever workshop. Go to nickcarrier.com/workshop to feel so much more educated, so much more empowered, so that when you're going in the kitchen to scrap up your breakfast, your lunch, or your dinner, you are pulling things out intentionally. You're pulling things out meaningfully, knowing that I am eating this for this purpose. And you know that it's going to allow you to look the way you want to look and feel the way you want to feel. March 24th, 5 p.m. Central Time. Don't miss it. Go to nickcarrier.com/workshop to sign up today. I hope gaining a little insight into my marathon training and some of the principles that I'm applying to marathon training are helpful to you. If you're a runner, I'm sure they'll be helpful to you. If you're still around and you're not a runner, I hope you can find a way to apply some of these principles into other areas of your health and fitness and other areas of your life, because they are definitely applicable across goals and across different areas of your life. So I hope today helps you get closer to your health and fitness goals. And ultimately, I hope today helps you get closer and closer to your best you.